They don't call it spirits by accident. Have you ever wondered why alcohol dulls your clarity? Not just mentally, but energetically? Why after drinking, you might feel more disconnected, more scattered, or even more open to energies that don't feel like yours? There's a reason ancient mystics, shamans, and spiritual teachers across cultures warned about the substance we now casually call alcohol, or as it was once known, al-kuḥl, a word that originally referred to something subtle, invisible, and spirit-stealing. What if this isn't just a drink, but a portal? What if alcohol doesn't just lower your vibration, but makes your field more accessible to frequencies that are not your own? This is not about guilt. This is not about rules. This is about seeing clearly what you've been allowing into your temple and what it's costing your soul. Because once you know, you can choose differently. And once you choose presence over escape, your light begins to return. We call it a drink. We call it fun. We call it a way to relax, unwind, connect. But in older languages and esoteric teachings, alcohol was never referred to so casually. It was known as al-kuhul, a term that originally meant a fine, dark powder used around the eyes, and eventually evolved to refer to something even more subtle, an invisible essence, a spirit, a thief of the soul. And maybe that's exactly what it still is. In alchemical texts, al-kuhul was seen as an ethereal substance capable of extraction, the spirit or ghost of a material. And over time, this word became tied to intoxication. Not by accident, but by recognition. Alcohol separates. It fragments. It takes something whole, your presence, your energy, your connection to self, and turns it into something scattered, something open, and often something vulnerable. Have you ever felt it? The moment when your consciousness begins to shift, not gently, like in meditation or prayer, but abruptly. The dulling of the senses, the loosening of your inner compass, the widening of your energetic field in a way that doesn't feel like expansion, but exposure. We don't talk about this side of alcohol. We talk about freedom, pleasure, rebellion. We talk about celebration, culture, social bonding. But we rarely stop to ask, what exactly are we opening ourselves to when we let the spirits in? It's not just metaphor. It never was. In spiritual traditions across the world, from the yogic path to indigenous wisdom, from Christian mystics to Sufi poets, altered states were treated with immense reverence. Entering an altered state meant entering sacred space, a space that required intention, protection, alignment. It was never meant to be casual, and certainly never meant to be unconscious, because altered states are doors, and when you don't choose who or what you're letting in, something else will choose for you. Alcohol lowers your vibration, yes, but more than that, it destabilizes the auric field. It loosens the boundaries of your energetic body, and it opens the gate to frequencies that are drawn to chaos, confusion, and numbed awareness. Why do you think emotional outbursts are more common under the influence? Why do you think people black out and forget? Why do some describe feeling haunted the morning after, as if they are waking up next to a version of themselves they didn't consciously become? Because something else was driving, because you gave the wheel away. This isn't about shame. This is about remembrance. You were never meant to be passive in your own energy field. You were never meant to silence your soul in order to feel free. That kind of freedom is an illusion, and often it comes at a spiritual cost we don't notice until we've gone numb. So we return to the question, why is it called spirits? Not because it's poetic, but because it's precise. Because on a deep level, beneath marketing, culture, habit, there's a forgotten knowing that what you consume consumes you too. And if you've been feeling foggy, disconnected, or like your spiritual progress keeps resetting, maybe the real question isn't, what am I doing wrong? But what have I been letting in? This is where the real conversation begins. So, what is al-kuḥl and where did it come from? To understand the spiritual weight of alcohol, we must first trace its origin. Not just in chemistry, but in consciousness. Not just as a beverage, but as a symbol, and as a tool that has been used, misused, and misunderstood for centuries. The word alcohol comes from the Arabic term al-kuḥl, which, at its root, did not refer to a liquid. It referred to something far more subtle, a fine, black powder, often used as eyeliner, what we now know as kohl. But deeper than its cosmetic use, al-kuḥl held a metaphysical meaning in alchemical teachings. It was the name given to the spirit extracted from a substance, the volatile, unseen essence that could be pulled away from the physical, the soul of the material. Let that sink in. Al-kuḥl originally meant the spirit of a thing that has been separated from its body. And this is exactly what alcohol does to the human being. In alchemy, this process of extraction wasn't just physical, it was energetic. It symbolized pulling something out of alignment, out of harmony. When applied to the human experience, it becomes an even more vivid metaphor. Alcohol acts as a separator, a disconnector. Not only does it dull the mind, it fractures the spirit's connection to the body. It interferes with the sacred dialogue between your higher self and your physical vessel. And throughout history, this didn't go unnoticed. Ancient mystics, seers, and spiritual healers recognized that certain substances could shift consciousness, but not all in the same way. While some medicines were sacred and administered within a context of prayer, ritual, and intention, alcohol was approached with caution. In many traditions, it was avoided altogether, not because of moral judgment, but because of energetic awareness. So why did it become so normalized? Why did this once esoteric extraction come to be something we casually pour, clink, and drink, without reverence, without question? Colonialism played a part. Cultural amnesia played another. But more deeply, it was the perfect tool for disconnection in a world slowly forgetting its own spirit. Because alcohol makes the body numb, but it also quiets the intuition. It dulls the higher faculties. It makes spiritual clarity harder to access. And in a world that constantly pulls us away from our center, something that keeps us comfortably unconscious is, unfortunately, profitable. But the truth remains, hidden in plain sight. Al-Kuhul was never meant to be entertainment. It was, in a sense, a form of spiritual extraction, an agent of disembodiment. And while modern language no longer carries this weight, your soul still recognizes it. Have you ever felt it? That sense of disorientation after drinking, not just physical, but spiritual. The sense that something opened and didn't close properly. The dreams that became darker, the clarity that felt farther away, the feeling of not quite being yourself the next day, or the subtle ache in your chest, your third eye, your gut, telling you something sacred just slipped a little further from your grasp. This is Al-Kuhul. This is what happens when we forget that words carry echoes of ancient truths, and that what we put into our body isn't just physical, it's vibrational. So where did it come from? It came from the ancient world, from the laboratories of mystics, from the texts of alchemists. But what it has become, that is a different story. And now you stand at the edge of remembering, not to live in fear, but to live with awareness. Because when you know what you're consuming, you begin to reclaim what you've been unconsciously giving away. How alcohol affects the spiritual body. To understand how alcohol truly impacts the spiritual body, you first have to remember, you are not just flesh and blood. You are light, frequency, and energy in form. You are a multidimensional being, and your physical body is only one expression of your vast presence. Surrounding and interwoven with it is your spiritual body, often called the aura, the energy field, the subtle system. This field is intelligent, dynamic, and incredibly sensitive. It responds not only to what you think and feel, but also to what you ingest. When you consume alcohol, it does not simply pass through your bloodstream, it passes through your light. Energetically, alcohol acts like a chemical that distorts the structure of your field. Imagine your energy body as a luminous, flowing sphere around you, spinning, adjusting, breathing. In its natural state, this field is alive and responsive. But alcohol brings a kind of energetic static, like throwing ink into clear water. The field becomes heavy. distorted, clouded. And when this happens, your connection to the higher realms, to intuition, spirit, and inner clarity, becomes muffled. You might have noticed it, that feeling of separation from your own center, the spiritual hangover that lingers long after the alcohol wears off, the subtle unease you can't quite name, the delayed intuition, the dreams that turn into chaos, the insights that used to flow freely now feel blocked or distant. This isn't coincidence. It's the direct result of what alcohol does to the etheric layer of your body, the subtle network of pathways that energy uses to move through you. In many esoteric teachings, these channels are known as nadis, meridians, or simply energy lines. They feed your chakras. They keep your light organized. But alcohol causes congestion in these lines. It interrupts the signals. It introduces lower vibrational interference. And where there is interference, there is vulnerability. This is why many traditions say that alcohol opens doors, but doesn't teach you how to close them. It can create temporary openings in your field, weakening your spiritual defenses. In these moments, your body is still present, but your light isn't fully anchored. And what enters through these gaps may not be in service to your highest self. Have you ever felt like something came into you during a night of heavy drinking? A mood, a thought, even a presence, and stayed? Have you ever felt like parts of you went missing and you couldn't quite call them back? Alcohol can act as a dislocator of energy. It's not just that you get out of control, it's that you become energetically unrooted. This is why alcohol has long been used in some dark rituals to intentionally lower the vibration of a space or make someone more open to influence. The spirit weakens. The body becomes the only captain of the ship, and sometimes not even that. But here's something few people say. You don't need alcohol to feel free. You don't need alcohol to feel wild. You don't need alcohol to connect, to laugh, or to loosen. What you truly seek through it, liberation, presence, boldness, euphoria, are already available within your natural energy field. In fact, alcohol doesn't create those states. It just temporarily removes the part of your mind that believes you're not allowed to access them. But the price is always disconnection. And the more spiritually attuned you become, the higher the cost. Because once you begin to cleanse your field, raise your vibration, and live in alignment, alcohol doesn't feel neutral anymore. It starts to feel heavy. It starts to feel like going backward. Your dreams shift. Your clarity dims. Your rituals lose potency. And deep inside, something whispers, "This is no longer for me." This doesn't mean you need to fear it. It means you need to see it with new eyes, with awakened perception. Because once you understand how alcohol actually touches the deeper layers of your being, the question becomes less about, should I drink? And more about, what am I truly willing to sacrifice for the illusion of ease? And even deeper, what would it feel like to be fully present with myself, without distortion, and still be free? That's the power that awaits you, not in the forgetting of the self, but in the sacred remembering. Why alcohol lowers your frequency? There's a reason alcohol is called a spirit, not because it brings you closer to the divine, but because in many ancient traditions, it was known to invite spirits, and not all of them aligned with your highest good. When we talk about frequency, we're speaking the language of the soul. Your frequency is your essence in motion, the energetic rhythm you emit through thought, emotion, presence, and intention. And just like music, some frequencies elevate, expand, and harmonize, while others distort, constrict, and unravel. Alcohol, on an energetic level, doesn't just lower your vibration, it changes its shape entirely. Imagine your frequency as a fine-tuned instrument. It's sensitive, alive, responsive to everything you feed it, the food you eat, the words you speak, the emotions you nurture, the environments you enter. In this delicate symphony, alcohol crashes in like a chaotic, dissonant note. It dulls your subtle senses. It numbs your internal guidance. It severs, or at least blurs, your alignment with higher truth. And most importantly, it creates disconnection. disconnection from self, disconnection from source, disconnection from purpose, clarity, and presence. That's why, even if alcohol brings temporary euphoria, it leaves a residue of emptiness. The high is followed by a spiritual low, and the more you awaken, the more this becomes impossible to ignore. Energetically, alcohol lowers your frequency by pulling your awareness away from the higher centers of consciousness, the heart, the third eye, the crown, and anchoring it in the lower, more instinctual realms. It becomes harder to feel, harder to hear, harder to see with the inner eye. This doesn't mean your spirit leaves entirely, but it does mean your connection to it becomes incoherent, like trying to hear divine music through a broken speaker. Have you ever felt like something was off after drinking, even if nothing dramatic happened? Have you noticed your energy feels denser, your thoughts more chaotic, your dreams murkier? These are not coincidences. These are symptoms of frequency interference. And the thing is, it's not just about one drink. It's about the intention behind it and the energetic signature it carries. In the modern world, alcohol is often consumed as an escape from pressure, from pain, from boredom, from the weight of consciousness. But each time you use alcohol to leave yourself, you subtly reinforce the belief that being fully present with your soul is unbearable, that silence must be filled, that stillness must be avoided. But your power is in presence. When you drink while disconnected from that truth, the frequency of alcohol acts as an amplifier, not of your soul, but of your unconscious, your unresolved emotions, your hidden wounds, your suppressed needs. And because alcohol blurs the line between your conscious and subconscious, it often lets those shadows out in ways that aren't always healing. It creates an open field, without the structure to hold what emerges. And this is why alcohol has long been associated, in ancient mysticism, shamanism, and esoteric teachings, with frequency loss. Because it dissolves the boundaries of self-awareness, and in that dissolution, you become vulnerable to frequencies that are not yours. Entities, thought forms, even collective emotional energies can enter your field more easily when your vibration drops. The body remains, but the guardian of the body, your highest consciousness, steps back. You might still function. You might even laugh and dance and feel good for a moment. But the light dims, the channel closes, the truth slips away quietly, without asking permission. And for many, this becomes a cycle, a craving not just for the drink, but for the sensation of not having to feel everything so deeply. But what if that depth is where your power lives? What if what you're numbing is actually what would set you free? This isn't about shame, it's about seeing clearly. Alcohol isn't inherently evil, but it is a teacher, and its lesson is sharp. Every time you choose to disconnect from yourself, you lose a piece of your light. And you were never meant to lose light. You were meant to become it, to hold it, to expand it, to walk this world fully awake, fully embodied, and fully sovereign. So ask yourself gently, what are you really reaching for when you reach for alcohol? And could that thing, peace, connection, confidence, freedom, already be within you, just waiting for you to meet it in clarity, not distortion? Because your frequency is sacred, and nothing is worth dimming your soul's brilliance. To understand the spiritual impact of alcohol, we must move beyond the physical and psychological lenses and enter the realm of energetic mechanics. Because the real danger isn't just what alcohol does to your body or your mind, it's what it does to your field, your aura, your unseen architecture of protection. Your energy field is not abstract, it's intelligent. It holds information, intention, memory, and structure. It's the buffer between your soul and the world. When healthy, it filters out what doesn't belong, repels discordant energies, and helps you stay connected to your intuition. But when compromised, it becomes porous, leaky, vulnerable. And few substances weaken this protective layer as efficiently and as invisibly as alcohol. From an energetic perspective, alcohol disorients your field. It distorts the natural flow of your life force and lowers the coherence of your spiritual signature. Imagine your aura as a beautifully woven fabric of light. unique to you, encoded with the geometry of your soul. Alcohol, even in small amounts, begins to fray that weave. It loosens the threads, creating openings, and what enters through those openings is not always harmless. In ancient mysticism, alcohol has long been seen as a portal substance. Its original name, Al-Kuhul, carries with it the memory of its esoteric use, not as a party drink, but as a medium of contact with the unseen. And the question becomes, contact with what? Because when you open your field while disconnected from intention or spiritual clarity, you don't get to choose what comes in. Lower vibrational entities, thought forms, and collective emotional debris are drawn to incoherence, and alcohol in its frequency creates exactly that. It lowers your vibratory immune system. It invites in what you wouldn't normally allow if you were fully present in your light. Have you ever woken up after drinking and felt like yourself, but not quite? As if something followed you home from the night? As if your mind was clear, but your energy still carried a weight you couldn't explain? These are not just hangovers. These are residual imprints, frequencies that entered when your field was unguarded. It's not always dramatic. It doesn't have to involve possession or external spirits. Often, it's more subtle than that. You absorb emotional noise. You take on energies that don't belong to you. You temporarily lose clarity on your path. You begin to make decisions from distortion instead of soul alignment. This is the real vulnerability, because energy doesn't lie. You can smile, you can dance, you can say, "I'm fine," but your frequency tells the deeper truth. And when that truth is blurred by substances that dislodge you from your spiritual center, your discernment weakens. You stop noticing when something enters your field that shouldn't be there. You say yes to people, places, or experiences that don't nourish your evolution. And little by little, you drift, not all at once, but slowly, from your core. Alcohol doesn't just create vulnerability to what's around you. It creates vulnerability within you. It numbs the parts of you that know how to self-protect. It quiets your inner guardian. And that silence can feel like relief, until you realize that the voice you're not hearing is the one that would have told you, this isn't safe, this isn't right, this isn't love. Energetic vulnerability isn't about fear, it's about awareness. It's about knowing that you live in a multidimensional world where not everything is here to support your highest path. And the more conscious you become, the more sacred your energy becomes, not because it's fragile, but because it's valuable. So ask yourself, when you drink, are you expanding your light or dimming your intuition? Are you softening into soul or escaping from presence? Because your soul doesn't need alcohol to feel free. Your spirit doesn't need a drink to feel alive. And your light doesn't need distortion to be seen. You came here to be clear, to be anchored, to walk with discernment and openness at the same time. Alcohol, no matter how culturally normalized, was never designed to support that mission. The more awakened you become, the more you feel it, not just in your body, but in your field. And the more sacred that field becomes, the more fiercely you'll want to protect it, not from fear, but from love. Can alcohol open you to entities? This is the question few dare to ask out loud, but many have silently wondered, because deep down, in moments of stillness, after the party ends and the buzz fades, something lingers. A presence, a weight, a subtle change in the atmosphere of your being. And it begs the question, was something else there with me? To understand how alcohol can open you to entities, we must understand how your energetic field works and how it's directly influenced by what you ingest. Your energy field is your spiritual boundary system. It's not metaphorical, it's real. Just because most can't see it doesn't mean it isn't actively shaping your reality. Your aura is designed to keep your energy coherent, clean, and sovereign. It holds your frequency, your intention, your soul's memory, and perhaps most importantly, it acts as a filter between your inner world and the multidimensional world around you. But alcohol, by design, weakens that filter. It temporarily disconnects the energetic circuits that keep your vibration aligned with your higher self. your consciousness slips, your awareness blurs, and when awareness lowers, access opens, not just from you to the world, but from the world to you. This isn't fear-based mysticism. This is spiritual mechanics. Just like an open wound makes the body susceptible to infection, an opened field makes the soul susceptible to intrusion. Alcohol, particularly when consumed in excess or with emotional volatility, loosens your energetic grid, and in that loosened state, you become more vulnerable to external energies that resonate on a lower, denser frequency. These energies can include emotional debris, collective thought forms, ancestral residue, and yes, even non-physical entities. But what are these entities? Not all are malevolent. Some are simply wandering. Some are unresolved fragments of human consciousness. Some are opportunistic energies that feed off emotion, especially fear, lust, confusion, grief, and shame. And some are more intelligent than we'd like to believe, seeking access to human fields where the light has been dimmed. The question is not whether entities exist. They do, across cultures, mystic traditions, and modern spiritual experiences. The real question is, are you giving them permission without knowing it? Because alcohol, in many spiritual systems, is seen as a permission slip. The very word al-Kuhul, from which alcohol originates, refers in ancient Arabic and alchemical traditions to a body-eating spirit, or a substance that separates the soul from the body. And when that separation happens, even slightly, your vessel is no longer fully inhabited, and anything not fully claimed becomes vulnerable. Think of it like a home. When you're clear, grounded, and aware, your home is locked, lit, and protected. But when alcohol pulls you out of presence, it's like leaving the front door open, the lights off, and the alarm system disabled. You may not notice right away, but the shift is real, and what enters in that state may stay longer than you'd think. Ever felt a strange mood after drinking that wasn't yours? Ever acted in ways completely unlike you and felt something else was driving the behavior? Ever sensed a shadow around you that didn't match your energy, one that clung long after the night ended? These are signs that your field was accessed, that something entered when your spiritual boundaries were down. Again, not always dramatic, not always terrifying, but always, in some way, distorting. And distortion is dangerous, because it's subtle. It twists perception, warps desire, clouds judgment. It makes you say yes when your soul screams no. It nudges you toward people, habits, and timelines that siphon your power instead of reflect your truth. Now, this doesn't mean one sip of wine opens a demonic portal, but it does mean intention matters. It means frequency matters. It means consciousness is everything. If you are actively on a path of awakening, healing, or service, you're already emitting more light than most. And with that light comes visibility. You become noticeable to what exists in unseen realms, not just the benevolent. And alcohol, particularly when used to escape, cope, or numb, becomes a vibrational mismatch with the very energy you're trying to cultivate. So, can alcohol open you to entities? Yes. If you're not grounded, intentional, and spiritually aware. Yes. If you use it to disconnect from your pain instead of process it. Yes. If your light is strong, but your boundaries are weak. But this isn't about shame. It's about clarity. It's not about fear. It's about discernment. You are not fragile, but you are luminous. And luminosity must be guarded with reverence. The more powerful you become, the more essential your energetic hygiene becomes. So ask yourself, when you drink, are you still in your body? Are you still in command of your field? Or are you unknowingly giving something else the keys to your temple? Because you are a temple. And the divine doesn't dwell in distortion, it dwells in presence. At the core of your being, there is a divine essence that has always been and will always be powerful. This essence is not something you must go out and acquire. It is within you, inherent, waiting to be awakened. This is your light, the part of you that is connected to the infinite source of all creation. And just like a candle that radiates warmth and clarity, your purpose is to channel this light into the world, to let it shine brightly, guiding your way, and illuminating the paths of those around you. However, in a world filled with distractions, challenges, and the weight of everyday life, it can be easy to forget your true nature. It's easy to fall into patterns of seeking comfort, numbness, or escape through things like alcohol, mindless entertainment, or unhealthy attachments. But at what cost? These fleeting moments of escape may temporarily ease discomfort, but they disconnect you from the essence of who you truly are. And in disconnecting, you lose touch with the very power that is meant to lead you forward. When you engage in the practice of escaping your feelings, your fears, or your challenges, you are essentially dimming your light. You're not allowing your soul to feel, to learn, or to grow. Instead, you're running away from it all. But you were not meant to escape your light. You were born to channel it, to stand in your full power, facing the shadows, not running from them. You were born to embrace your divine energy, and by doing so, to transform the world around you. Alcohol, like other substances that alter consciousness, is often used as a way to escape. Whether it's to numb emotional pain, to silence the mind, or to suppress deeper truths, drinking pulls you away from the present moment and from the guidance of your higher self. It lowers your vibrational frequency and disconnects you from the higher realms of consciousness where you are most aligned with your true purpose. Alcohol becomes a veil that covers the radiance of your soul, and as it dims your light, it distorts your perception of reality. But here's the truth. You were not born to dim your light. You were not born to hide from the world or the challenges it brings. You were born to shine brightly, no matter the external circumstances. You were born to walk this earth in full awareness, radiating your divine frequency and holding your space in power and grace. Your true essence is a force of nature, a beacon of light meant to guide not only yourself, but others on the journey of awakening and self-realization. When you drink, you step away from this truth. You abandon the power that comes from being fully present with yourself and the world around you. Alcohol and other forms of escapism are distractions, pulling you away from your divine path. Every time you choose to disconnect from your light, you reinforce the belief that you are separate from your true power. But the reality is, you are never separate. You have always been connected to the infinite light of creation. And when you choose to stop escaping, you open the door to remembering that connection. It's time to reclaim your light, to stand firmly in your truth, and to stop seeking refuge in things that only offer temporary comfort. True strength comes not from numbing or escaping, but from embracing every aspect of yourself, the highs and the lows, the light and the shadow. Your light is not something to hide from, it's something to be embraced. And when you embrace your light, you can start to channel it fully into every aspect of your life. The world is full of distractions, yes, but it's also full of opportunities for growth. And when you stop running away, you'll find that those opportunities are all around you, just waiting to be discovered. When you stop dimming your light, you'll find that your purpose becomes clearer, your relationships become more meaningful, and your sense of self becomes more grounded. So, ask yourself, are you running from your light, or are you ready to channel it into the world? Are you ready to embrace the fullness of your divine energy and stand in your true power? The choice is yours. You were born to shine. Let your light be the guide.